Welcome back to AgroWorks USA, where the world's most surprising farm stories come to life. And today I bring you something you probably never expected. A creature once feared, hunted, and avoided at all costs is now being farmed. Wild boars, muscle-bound beasts with dagger-like tusks and tempers as unpredictable as the weather, have long ruled the forests. Weighing over 300 pounds with armor-like fur and the ability to charge at 40 km/h, these animals were once considered untrainable, untamable, and downright dangerous. But what if you could raise them, control them, turn them from a nightmare into nourishment? In China, that's exactly what's happening. This isn't just some rural experiment, it's a full-scale, booming agricultural movement. Wild boars, once symbols of untamed wilderness, are now bred by the millions. Their lean, dark meat becomes the centerpiece of high-end cuisine. Rich in protein, low in fat, and packed with gamey flavor, wild boar has earned a place on luxury menus and in health-conscious kitchens alike. This isn't just about producing food. It's about transforming a predator of crops into a product of innovation, about bridging the gap between wilderness and human need. So how did this transformation happen? What challenges do farmers face? And what does wild boar farming mean for the future of sustainable agriculture? In today's journey, we're going deep into the extraordinary journey from forest to farm, and the wild animal at the center of it all. So grab a seat, stay curious, and let's dive right in. For centuries, wild boars were legends of the forest, feared, respected, and left alone. They weren't just animals. They were symbols of the untamable, strong, swift, and dangerously unpredictable. Armed with dagger-like tusks and a charging speed of 40 km/h, these 300-pound beasts roamed freely, impossible to herd, impossible to train, and for most farmers, impossible to imagine on a farm. Hunters dreaded them. Farmers ignored them. The idea of raising wild boars, let alone turning them into a sustainable food source, was once unthinkable, but then everything changed. In the 2010s, China's growing middle class began demanding better protein meat that was clean, safe, and full of flavor. Traditional pork, long the staple of every meal, was losing its shine. Concerns about antibiotics, growth hormones, and bland, industrialized pork pushed consumers to look for something more natural, more real. And so, someone turned their gaze toward the wild. Instead of seeing wild boars as pests or threats, a handful of bold farmers and scientists saw potential. What if these animals, built by nature to be tough, resilient, and self-sufficient, were actually the future of ethical farming? It was a radical idea, but one that took root faster than anyone expected. Within just a few years, wild boar farming evolved from niche curiosity into one of the most exciting new sectors in Chinese agriculture. From the misty mountains of Yunnan to the rolling plains of Henan and Sichuan, farms began to adopt this new model. But forget about concrete barns and sterile pens. These are semi-wild enclosures where boars live in large open spaces that replicate their natural habitat. They roam, forage, and interact just like they would in the wild, only with a bit of structure. And behind this structure is a blend of ancient wisdom and modern science, natural breeding instead of artificial insemination. Closed-loop feed systems using bran and local crops, smart fencing that keeps animals safe without restraining their movement, and most importantly, minimal use of antibiotics or chemicals, making the meat cleaner and safer. Today, many farms house thousands of wild boars, producing hundreds of thousands of tons of lean, dark, gamey meat each year, meat that now graces upscale restaurant menus and health-conscious kitchens alike. What was once a feral menace has become a refined delicacy. And in doing so, China has rewritten the narrative, From predator of crops to pillar of sustainability, from forest fugitive to future food. Before we dive into the next part, hit the like button. If you think this wild boar farming model in China is amazing, or comment the number 1 if you'd love to visit one of these farms someday. So how do you raise a wild animal? One that was built for survival, not submission. The process starts earlier than you might think. In the first few weeks of life, wild boar piglets stay close to their mothers. For 15 to 20 days, they nurse to absorb the rich, antibody-filled milk that jumpstarts their immune systems. But unlike traditional piglets, they don't have the luxury of slow transition. Just days after birth, they begin nibbling on solid food, a carefully crafted blend of bran-crushed corn and mineral-rich supplements. This diet is divided into 5 small meals a day, not just for nutrition, but to train their still fragile digestive systems. Farmers must monitor everything: temperature, humidity, feed, consistency. Any sudden change can trigger stress or illness, and in a wild boar, stress often leads to aggression. Cleanliness is paramount, warmth is essential, and perhaps most importantly, early socialization helps these piglets form bonds not only with each other, but with their environment. Because soon that environment is about to change. Once weaned, the young boars are moved to semi-wild enclosures, and these aren't ordinary pens. These are purpose-built ecosystems designed to simulate the forest floor loose soil for rooting logs and tree trunks, for rubbing shaded corners for resting, and ample space for sprinting, charging, or simply being wild. Here their transformation truly begins. They start to toughen up. Their muscles thicken. Their reactions sharpen. Instead of relying on antibiotics and synthetic growth boosters, their bodies strengthen the old-fashioned way through movement exposure and adaptation. By 4 to 6 months of age, these animals barely resemble domestic pigs. Their bodies are leaner, more athletic. Their behavior is alert, instinctive, even territorial. But that's exactly the point. Farmers aren't trying to eliminate the wildness. They're learning how to work with it. This style of raising doesn't just produce hardier animals, it produces better meat. The constant activity leads to stronger muscle fibers. The natural diet creates richer flavor. And the lack of heavy medication results in meat that's cleaner, leaner, and closer to nature than anything you'll find on a typical farm. It's not about control. It's about coexistence, guiding nature just enough to make it work for humans without stripping the animal of what makes it remarkable in the first place. Because in this new era of farming, the goal isn't to tame the wild, it's to respect it and raise it on its own terms. By the time a wild boar hits 7 or 8 months old, everything changes. The piglet that once squealed for bran now stands tall and alert, muscle-bound and unpredictable. Tusks begin to protrude. But the most dramatic shift, it happens inside. Hormones surge, instincts sharpen. What was once a manageable animal becomes something far wilder. Male boars begin testing boundaries literally and figuratively. They clash with one another to establish dominance, challenge fences, and even confront the very humans who raised them. Females, meanwhile, grow fiercely protective of their young. At this stage, raising wild boars becomes far more than livestock care. It enters the realm of wildlife management. Daily routines are restructured for safety and strategy. Feeding times are staggered to reduce tension. Aggressive individuals are isolated. Alpha males, some tipping the scales at 300 pounds, are fed separately to avoid violence. Farmers now suit up in protective gear, bite-proof gloves, boots-padded vests. Even simple tasks like cleaning pens or observing behavior require coordination, planning, and vigilance. Routine health checks. They're now high-stakes missions. Tranquilizers, long poles, and containment pens are standard tools. One wrong move can trigger panic or worse. Transporting these animals is equally complex. You don't guide a wild boar into a truck, you outsmart it. Specialized vehicles are used, often soundproofed and reinforced. The goal: keep the animal calm while minimizing stress and injury. Every second counts during loading. Some farms are now using behavioral conditioning, teaching boars to associate sounds or movements with food or calm environments. This isn't about domesticating them. It's about building mutual understanding, a fragile but valuable connection between farmer and animal. Security on these farms is another science altogether. Fences are double-layered and sometimes electrified. Lookout towers allow full view of the enclosures. In high-tech setups, drones and AI sensors monitor behavior 24/7 to detect warning signs early and prevent escapes. Because when a 300-pound wild animal breaks free, it's not just a financial loss, it's a serious risk to everything around it. These aren't ordinary farms, they're fortresses, ecosystems, hybrid spaces where nature and agriculture collide. And those who run them, they're not just farmers, they're wildlife managers, strategists, and guardians. In the end, raising wild boars isn't about suppressing their wildness. It's about respecting it, working with it, and channeling it into something sustainable. Because here the real achievement isn't just meat, it's mastery. Would you dare raise an animal like this, a 300-pound powerhouse with tusks sharp as steel and instincts straight from the wild? If your answer is yes, go ahead and drop a yes in the comments. And if you've got thoughts, concerns, curiosity, or even just a wild idea, I'd love to hear it. So why go through all the trouble of raising wild boars, creatures that charge, bite, and test every fence you build? Because what they produce isn't just meat, it's value, flavor, prestige. Wild boar meat isn't simply another version of pork. It's a premium product with rising appeal in both domestic and international markets, and for good reason. Nutritionally, it's a powerhouse. Wild boar meat contains more protein and less fat than conventional pork. It's low in cholesterol and saturated fat, making it a favorite among athletes, dieters, and anyone seeking lean protein. It's also rich in iron, zinc, and B vitamins, nutrients essential for energy and immunity. But nutrition is only the first layer. What truly makes wild boar meat stand out is the taste. It's bold, earthy, slightly sweet, but undeniably wild. It has that gamey richness you can't fake, the kind that tells you this animal lived differently. It's not mass-raised meat, it's a story on a plate. Every bite reflects the environment it grew up in, the roots. It dug the space it roamed, the challenge it posed. Chefs love that. In upscale restaurants across China, Wild boar appears in dishes that range from rustic stews to fusion fine dining. It's often served grilled, braised, or stir-fried with strong herbs and spices that enhance its natural depth of flavor. Specialty butcher shops market it as a gourmet alternative to ordinary cuts. In traditional markets, it carries an aura of strength, vitality, even spiritual value. In Chinese medicine, wild animals like boar are believed to hold strong yang energy, promoting vitality and strength. Some older generations still seek it out for its perceived healing properties. And for many younger consumers, wild boar is simply something new, different, and exciting. The market is responding. Online platforms now sell frozen wild boar with full traceability and QR codes linking to farm information. You can order cuts by type, read preparation guides, and even watch videos from the farm where it came from. Some producers are collaborating with cooking schools, live streamers, and restaurants to promote the art of wild boar cuisine. What once roamed the forest untamed is now packaged, plated, and positioned as a luxury item. This isn't just farming anymore, it's branding. It's about turning primal energy into a premium experience. And the market. The market is hungry for more. But behind the success of wild boar farming lies a bigger question, one that goes beyond meat money or even innovation. What are the ethical implications of domesticating a wild animal that still carries the fire of the forest in its eyes? Are we truly taming it, or simply managing its instincts for our convenience? Supporters of wild boar farming make a strong case. Compared to unregulated hunting, which can wipe out entire populations and upset natural ecosystems, farming offers a safer, more sustainable path. It provides protein without threatening wild populations. It helps reduce illegal poaching. And when done right, it brings balance, not destruction. But done right is the key. These are not animals meant to be caged. And that's why responsible farms across China take a different approach. Instead of steel pens and concrete slabs, wild boars live in open enclosures designed to mimic their natural habitat, complete with soil shade trees and space to roam. They forage, they socialize. They live with less stress, and that translates to stronger animals, healthier meat, and better outcomes all around. Ethically, this model stands apart. It respects the animal's nature rather than suppressing it. It's not about turning wild boars into docile pigs. It's about creating an environment where their natural behaviors can thrive even within a managed system. And then there's the environmental side of the story. Wild boars don't require the same highly processed feed as commercial pigs. They eat roughage roots grains often grown locally. That means less dependence on global soy or corn supply chains. They also need fewer antibiotics and produce lower amounts of concentrated waste, reducing the chemical load on soil and water. All of this contributes to a smaller carbon footprint, a big plus in an era where agriculture must do more with less. But this kind of farming isn't easy. It takes knowledge, vigilance, and above all, responsibility. Land use must be carefully planned to avoid habitat damage. Breeding must be controlled to prevent overpopulation. And most importantly, animal welfare has to come first, not as a slogan, but as a standard. That means regular inspections, strict regulations, and a constant awareness of the line between farming and exploitation. Because at the end of the day, wild boar farming isn't about domination. It's about coexistence, a meeting point between nature and need tradition and technology. If we get it right, this model could reshape not just how we raise meat, but how we see our relationship with the wild itself. And that's a future worth building. What about you? Do you support the idea of wild boar farming in China? Are the economic and environmental benefits enough to get you interested? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Once feared, now farmed. The story of wild boars in China isn't just about food, it's about innovation, adaptation, and redefining what farming can be. What started as an experiment has become a model, a way of reconnecting with nature without destroying it. Now I want to hear from you. If given the chance, would you try boar meat? Comment too. And what do you think about the wild boar farming model? Could this be a promising direction for sustainable agriculture in the future? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one of them. If you're as fascinated by the hidden worlds of agriculture, food, and industry as I am, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to AgroWorks USA, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a new exploration with us. Thank you for watching and for being part of this journey. See you in the next adventure, where together we'll uncover more secrets of how the world really works.